Okay, so my next experience about knowing that the soul is conscious energy on its own is I've actually already shown, I already have a YouTube video on this and my experience with, or my conversation with Abraham, Esther, and Jerry Hicks. And Abraham, I sat in the hot seat with them and told a story about how I was 18 years old. I had a connection, a very powerful connection to God Source, and it really shed a strong light on my understanding of how the universe works. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on that experience. And so basically what happened in that experience is that for a long time I was getting a lot of, I guess, conflicting information about religion and God, you know, from my father and from other sources and so forth. And I mean, there was nothing bad coming from it, from the different sources, other than the one thing that I could not quite reconcile with religion as a whole was the idea that this all-powerful, loving, beneficent, and merciful being, God, would also punish and condemn people to hell for not following or believing ideas that came from one particular source of religion, and that individuals who were born, you know, in India, let's say, or, you know, some other part of the world, let's say Bush people, you know, people literally living in the jungle or something like that, who had no connection with, you know, Western religion, would be basically doomed to an eternal life of hell because they weren't born in the right part of the world. And so I couldn't reconcile that idea that this God would purposely or whatever allow people to be born in a part of the world where they didn't have access to information, or that it wouldn't be, you know, within their culture to know this information, and then they would be damned. So it didn't make any sense to me. So I started researching different religions and seeing that there were a lot of different, a lot of similarities between the different religions, and I started realizing that it wasn't that they were different. It was that they had culturally different ways of explaining the exact same thing. So just because they called God in this religion and Allah in another religion, and the source, or, you know, American Indians had many different names for the things that source energy could do. To me, it became more and more clear that it wasn't a a specific religious thing that was the issue. It was more of a cultural translation of the same thing by the communities and the traditions of that particular culture. So when I asked the question, more or less to myself, I had gotten very frustrated by the fact that so many people were fighting each other over not understanding this, and I needed to understand it myself. I needed to make that connection, and I hadn't done that quite yet. So I just sort of said, you know, I'm going to give up on all religion and so forth. And even though I had many experiences before that led me to understand that there was something bigger, I didn't know what it was really. And I sort of challenged that something bigger to let me know what it was. And, you know, without any, I I guess I didn't, invest anything really into it, like, show me something and I'll be loyal for the rest of my life or something like that. It was just sort of like, you can if you want, and if you don't, whatever, who cares? I'll just go with it. And so when I called on, God source, energy source, whatever, to, show me, bring it on, what do you have? And, and if nothing happened, then nothing happens, and, it's no big deal. And so basically what happened is that, literally after I had asked this question, it was, again, late at night, and it wasn't dark or anything like that. I was reading, in my bed, and I picked up a copy of the Quran, and I just thought that I was going to read it as fiction and just say, if something interesting comes out of this, fine. If not, I won't worry about it. And literally, a few minutes later, I found myself floating in this, and it wasn't an outside of my body experience, it was an in my body experience, but it was an awakening of my spirit to all that is. And it basically, it was as if I had been scooped up into this ball of energy. And it was a, beautiful, white, pure, positive energy source. And in it, I knew that I was part of all that is. And it was beautifully peaceful. It was, it's one of those things you just can't explain, the magnitude of love that you feel when you're in that source. You cannot explain the bombardment of knowledge that comes at you. It is literally having an instant plug-in connection to the answers of everything in the universe that you could possibly think of. I mean, I was asking questions and the answers were coming like blah, 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 blah. And they were coming so fast, and I was asking them so quickly that I knew I wasn't going to remember them all at once, because it was just going too fast. But I had the conscious knowing that there was too much being asked and too much being answered all at once. So I sort of slowed myself down, and I said in my mind, or in the energy and the consciousness, I said, well, what's the most important thing that I need to remember? And it's like the energy slowed down and said to me, love. And it was absolutely beautiful, because once I asked that question, and then the answer of love came at me, and then I sort of like, stepped back into, closing down my awareness of the universal energy, God source. I was like, oh, love, oh. But the thing is that, most people think of love and they think of, I'm some sort of romantic connection with another person, or some sort of, sensual, sexual, love connection thing. And I knew in that moment that that's not what they were meaning by love. Love is defined as energy. And that is what God is. It is a universal conscious energy, and it is called love. And that's why we love being in love. Because when we're in love, we feel that absolute connection and invincibility and knowing of all that is true and all that is perfect in our existence. And it is absolutely the love of life and the energy of everything that you could possibly want or care to know anything about. So it is kind of like an addiction in that sense, is because, everybody wants to be in love and everybody wants love in their life, but they think that it comes from outside themselves. They think that it has to come from another individual, and that's not true. Love comes from within, and the kingdom of heaven is within. That's where the love resides. So it's why the cliche that you can't love anyone else if you don't love yourself, and that's true, because you can't understand what true love is if you don't love truly yourself. So that energy and the understanding of that energy and was a true enlightenment and a true awakening for me, and it has definitely been the foundation of my every belief, and basically, or my every knowing actually. But every time I come in contact with other individuals or other spiritual teachings or other knowers of the source and so forth, because I've been in the energy and I have a immediate recollection of it, and I meditate to keep my connection strong and so forth. In that knowing, you know what resonates with you. I know what is coming from a place of truth and what's coming from a place of fear, or someone else's interpretation of their own personal fear when they're coming across. So I just thought I'd share that experience with you, and we'll go on to the next one. Thanks for watching.